everybody! I seem to be incredibly productive when I should be doing something else instead. I should be writing my book right now, but instead I seem to be having a video idea just swirl around in my brain while I'm trying to meditate, which makes it a lot harder to write a spiritual book. Therefore, I thought maybe I'm gonna film this instead. By this point, I have half a mind of just making a separate video on spirits hate my electronical setup and the hum that I am getting on the microphone, but it is okay. I can remove that in post-processing. As long as nothing else explodes, we're gonna be fine. I didn't bother to do my makeup, so enjoy the atmosphere of regular good old May and a candle, because I am currently really enjoying this lavender smell. Oh, and an eyeball, in case anyone wants one. And I don't sell eyeballs, and that's not a real eyeball. It is a doll eyeball, but god damn it if it's not cool. I just really like it. Sorry. Okay, so as I'm currently writing a book on where specific Goetic and Ducante hierarchy spirits come from, what are their earliest mentions, what offerings do they like, what colors are they associated with. I am going through quite a lot of posts online and people talking to one another and arguing about spirits, so it only makes sense that the idea for this video came about. It has 11 points, and more of those points have to do with other people than you would think is reasonable, but a lot of other people have a lot to do with this, so sorry if you wanted this to be a more just singular person and their spirituality practice based. You'll have to put up with a lot of points having to do with a lot of people, a lot of other people's works, how we interact with them, and how we interact online as people in general. 11 points, no specific ranking whatsoever. It's not like a biggest worst mistake to the least bad mistake, and I'm just gonna go at it. So, the first mistake that a lot of starting demonolaters do is reading one book and believing that it is the only way of doing things. There are a lot of people that will go online and will state something like, oh, but I am allergic to this particular thing, and do I actually have to pick a patron or a matron? Do I actually have to give blood to a spirit? I can't do blood sacrifices, and that sort of thing, so on and so forth. What happens is that they take a singular book, normally a book that is recommended by them, by someone else, that says, oh, this is a great book for understanding the spirits, and they believe that they should follow that book to a T, to a letter. Now, one thing to remember about a spiritual practice is that it is an art, not a science. The very much specifics don't particularly matter unless you're doing some very, very specific rituals. If you're looking at high ceremonial magic rituals, then following them in a very specific pattern is very important. But if you're just reading about a practice and another person in their book is recommending you to do something a specific way, it doesn't mean that you have to. Get multiple books. Experiment. See what works for you and what doesn't. If there is something you can't do from one book, then that is okay. Throw it out the window, it doesn't matter. There's more than one way of doing things here, and you don't actually need other people to give you permission to do something inside your own house. There is no specific hierarchy of people, and they don't actually have any power over you. You don't have to just take this one name and go, oh, just because they're popular in this sphere, that means that they really know what they're talking about and that no other way is the correct way. No. What is correct for you is correct for you. What works for you works for you. Take books as inspiration, not as a manual. 2. We're gonna go into 2 now. It is overglorifying authors. Especially when people start to believe that because an author has written a work in this specific sphere, and it is a sphere that you're interested in, that this author specifically will have to share a lot of the opinions that you do. And when you find out that they don't, it is a huge disappointment. That would be a cat, not a demon. I have taken care of the issue that was a cat and not a demon. I even had people say that to me, that, oh, you're different than what I expected. I didn't expect such betrayal from you. Or I was looking up to you as some sort of a hero, despite the fact that I published like 2 books and combined I probably have under 100 sales. Yet people saw me as this influential figure, and they went to my Twitter, they went to my other socials, they have dug up tweets that have nothing to do with my spirituality, and they got disappointed in me because it turns out that I am human. And as humans go, I have personal opinions on other matters, and they expected this to align with them, and it did not. Some authors are more awful than others. There are people that are legitimately associated with some pretty illegal movements. You have to face the idea that the author that you're reading will not necessarily have the same stances as you do. And even worse off, could even potentially, in some cases, be a criminal. This does not mean that what they have written has any less value. That just means that as a person, it is not something that you would want to be friends with. Do not internalize that in particular. Number 3, asking others the correct way of practice. There are so many questions online of, hey, I've done this offering and it felt right, but was it right? Or I decided to not do this thing and it felt right, but was it right? Your spirituality is between you and the spirits that you're communicating with. If the spirits don't like something in particular, they will have ways of letting you know. You don't need to involve a third party and second guess every single decision that you made. It is better to do something wrong, figure out that it was the wrong way, that you have done something because of some sort of sign that you have interpreted, than to go to a third party, which is people, generally people on the internet, and ask them, hey, did I do this thing right? Because technically there is no right or wrong. There is only right and wrong for you when it comes to your own spirituality. 4. Believing that all other practitioners are the same as you when it comes to their morality, political, and social stances. Or believing that other people that believe in the similar spirit as you will be very similar to you as people. That is not the case. You don't suddenly become friends with this whole community of individuals. They're still individual, and they can actually be completely opposite from you as a person. They can hold beliefs that are completely opposite to your own and still be working with the same spirit. Remember that a lot of these spirits are tied to areas that are pretty massive. Areas like health, death, plague, knowledge, and so on and so forth. And these areas, how people approach them will be very, very different. And a person from any side can contribute to knowledge. A person with any kind of moral stance can contribute to knowledge. A person can contribute to health in two completely different ways. So don't assume that the people that follow or contact the same spirits as you will definitely accept you, will definitely like you, and will definitely be as you. They're not your friends. Your friends are your friends. People that follow a similar spirituality than you simply have one thing in common. You probably need to find more than one thing in common in order to actually call somebody your friend and to feel comfortable around them and to trust them. So please keep that in mind. Number 5. Hey, it's an actual spiritual one. Becoming too enamored with the spirit to a point where you flip from the very demonized version of the spirit to the opposite, where it's not demonized at all and actually everything is sunshine and flowers and rainbows and they're so nice to me because they're so nice. That means that there must be very nice to everybody, and that people that are having negative experiences with this spirit, they must be lying or they must be doing something wrong. No, not really. Any force. Think of spirits less as like people that you're super friendly with. Think of them as like actual forces of nature. And any force can be utilized in multiple different ways. The force of love is beautiful. The force of obsession is a lot less so. The force of forcing your love onto someone is a lot less so. Love can also lead to jealousy. No matter the spirit and their area, the way that they're gonna express that area is gonna be very multifaceted. Just because you have positive experiences doesn't mean that everybody will have positive experiences with this spirit. It doesn't mean that it is the absolute best spirit for everyone to contact. And once again, it doesn't mean that you will agree with every single way that the people work with this spirit. And there is no right or wrong way to work with this spirit. Somebody else's spirituality can have a completely different expression than yours, and the spirit can still be completely fine with that. To give an example of like a moral situation, let's say that you are working with the spirit of love, and you're all about loving yourself, you're all about investigating love as a feeling, you're all about spreading that love, and there comes a person and they, doesn't matter. They use that spirit to do client work, to force people to love their clients. And you might go, oh, well, that's kind of like messing people up mentally. I don't really see it as that much different than imprisoning somebody in your house and forcing them to marry you, except that this time you're messing up with your mind. My spirit would never do that. They would never allow for such an expression. No, a lot of them are not bound by human morals. All expressions of their area of expertise will be welcomed by them positively, and they will be fine with it. So no, just because you in particular disagree with how another person practices with the same spirit that you're practicing with, it doesn't mean that either of you are wrong or that the spirit will take one side over the other. The spirit is okay with practicing with both of you equally. And actually, when people get into fights about these kind of things, they often tend to be unable to do work against each other that would be like very specific and pretty vile, because they're asked not to. So I know other people that work with the same spirit as I do, that do things that I highly object, but I can't actually express that objection because we work with the same spirit. Number 6. Not having the patience to develop the skills to do with your spirituality. A lot of people come in and they want to cut corners. They go, I don't want to practice meditation. I don't want to read books. Just give me a spell. Give me something specific that I can do that will net results there and then. Nobody can do that for you. Or even better, they decide that they will contact a spirit. They feel like they have established the contact, but they can't figure out a way of communication. And instead of picking up a deck of tarot cards, trying to use the pendulum, trying tools, asking for signs, they want to cut corners and ask somebody else, hey, can you just be my translator for me? Which is once again involving a third party into your practice. You can get people that will abuse that. You can get incorrect answers. You really shouldn't be doing that. Or they might even ask, is there a person that can just transmit that skill set to me instead of taking the time that these skills require? So don't be like that. Actually, do take that time. 7. Automatically feeling like they're supposed to be here and work with demons because they oppose a mainstream religion. Normally it's one of the Abrahamic ones. Or they feel like they must oppose an Abrahamic religion just because they work with demons. No, there are actual Christians that probably requires quite hard mental gymnastics to explain this to yourself, and they kind of practice Christianity more like you would paganism, but there are people that mix Christianity and demon work into one thing that they practice as a religious practice. And you don't have to be taking the respectful approach or the loving approach or promising and swearing under a specific spirit. So for them, it will always be that the Abrahamic God will be top, other spirits will be beneath them, and that is fine. So don't think that just because you're having religious trauma, this is a place for you where you should be. No, work through your religious trauma, just leave whatever you religion are part of properly first before taking on any new spiritualities. And just because you're here, don't think that everybody is like, oh, all those mainstream religions bad. All of those people are bad. How much I hate these people. Chances are people that are practicing their own faith normally do not care. They normally do not care about other people that practice other faiths unless these other faiths are doing something in particular in their life that make their life really hard to live. In that case, you will probably have a personal vendetta, but it will have very little to do with your faith. So, on the things that you like and hate, make a decision on those separately from your religious beliefs. And I just blew out my candle. Way to go, me. Way to go. 8. Not reading up on the spirits before contacting said spirits. People choose spirits that rule very unpleasant parts of life. For example, Lilith rules abortion and cot death and not reproducing, sterility, stealing men's seed so that they can't copulate with their wives, people think that she is some sort of cool gothic symbol for womanly freedom and completely forget that she is highly associated with death. And then they get unpleasant feelings when they contact a spirit highly associated with death. Well, they're highly associated with death. They're also kind of empiric in nature. So, you might have a good time. It might be fine. Or it might not be fine. And you should kind of read up on it beforehand, just so that it's not a surprise if something goes particularly wrong, because there is always a chance that you're not gonna vibe with the spirit, and doesn't mean that your house will suddenly get possessed and that your staircase will try to eat you, but normally it means that you might have a mentally scarring meditation experience where the visuals or the sounds or the smells or anything else are just so not what you expected. Moving into number 9 on that. Becoming spooked by negative physical feelings while contacting a spirit and believing it to be a sign of an attack or doing something incorrectly. Please tell me not to speak into my candle again. I do really enjoy this lavender scent. I would be appreciative if I didn't keep on blowing on it. That would be very, very nice of me. Some spirits might just completely disagree with your own energetic field. Examples of things that I have sensed upon meditating on some of them include dizziness, pressure that goes into feeling like you're having a headache, feeling like you're being pulled into a black hole. That one is particularly unpleasant. Feeling like you're being pulled underground, like it's a very, very, very heavy presence. Did I mention dizziness yet? I probably have. Electrical inconsistencies. In my house. That one was kind of fun because I could nearly speak to a spirit through my lamp that just wouldn't stay on. You can experience a bout of nausea. You can get pains. You can feel like some part of you is burning up or is freezing cold. All of these experiences are perfectly normal, and you should probably interpret them as, hey, I did manage to reach a spirit. This is how I personally interpret them sensory-wise. I should probably associate this sense with this specific spirit. And if it disagrees with you too much, don't call on them again. Go, that is definitely not for me. That is not for me. That field is not for me. I should not open this door again. Obviously, we are incompatible. But it doesn't mean that the spirit is angry at you. It doesn't mean that you did something incorrectly. This is just what you feel, and that is how you should interpret it. You should interpret it as feelings, and you should write them down. Number 10. Not taking the time to think the possible message that you're receiving over, and taking the message at its face value instead of trying to interpret it. Not everything is gonna be literal. And when people take everything as literal, they normally fall into some really, really weird mentalities. Namely, a mentality of superiority, where you might get a vision of being a king and having the spirit put a crown on your head, and the actual message could have been, you are the king of your castle. Take ownership of your house and lead your life as you wish to lead it. But instead, someone might take this quite literally and go, I am special. I must be of royal blood. This spirit is considering me to be a king. I should tell everybody. I should be the spokesperson for this spirit. I should go online and become the voice, for the spirit has elected me to be the king. And that is not so. That is just a singular message that you have chosen to interpret that way. It is a lot better to take the message and to sit with it and to read into it, to think what it could possibly symbolize, what it could possibly mean. Take it as a dream. Take it as you would a sign. Think that it is cryptic. No matter you're getting sentences, you're getting visions, or you're getting dreams, consider the possibility that it is cryptic and not literal. There is a funnier version of this, where one person online was trying to interpret what a spirit meant when they said to them one word, Icarus. And the whole vision was that they have managed to reach the spirit in the spirit's home, and in their vision it was like in a high place on top of a cloud, and they were so happy to arrive there. And then they were like, Mr. Spirit, give me a singular message. And the spirit said, Icarus, and pushed them down. Which they had a lot of trouble interpreting, but one of the interpretations can be, you're reaching too close to the sun, just like the story of Icarus, and it's time to go back down now. It can be taken as a literal joke. Potentially should have been, potentially not. That is the beauty of cryptic messages. You can interpret them in multiple different ways, but don't necessarily take everything super seriously. Sometimes it is a bit of a joke. So just rummage those things over and don't just go and barf them out online or crown yourself the queen of the nearest dustbin. It's not very helpful, it's not very realistic, and it really pushes your spiritual practice into a really, really weird direction. People tend to really fall into two categories where they can get too enamored with the idea of power, and therefore a lot of their messages or visions will be interpreted in the sense that I am the bestest, I am the most special, and nobody else is. Or war, as in they're a very confrontational person, they think about this all the time, and then they fall into either a conspiracy paranoia version of, we're on the brink of an apocalypse, we're on the brink of some sort of special war, or there is a spiritual war happening and I should be a part of that. And these kind of decisions, they really impact with how well you can healthily engage with your own spirituality. So I suggest coming out in without harboring these kind of ideas, and when you do get a cryptic message, to really, really, really look into it. Don't just take it and run with it. And 11 is desperately seeking validation from others. Don't do that. It kind of feeds into all of that. Hey, am I doing this ritual right? It felt right, but is it right? Or, hey, the spirit told a specific thing, but I'm not gonna tell you what it is, and they told me, and everybody else should know, so can like other people working with that spirit specifically confirm that message? And sometimes through divination it works, and it is a lot of fun when it works, but sometimes those messages are private, so you're gonna have no luck with such confirmation. So don't run to others. Don't seek some sort of acceptance into the bigger group or entry into some sort of community or always second guess yourself about everything that you do. No, it's your spirituality, it belongs to you, it is your particular business, and it has nothing to do with other people. So don't do that. Don't just run to other people and be like that, because it's very easy to be thrown off by somebody just coming in and having this previously interpreted king attitude, deciding that they are the ones that dictate what everyone else's practice is supposed to be, for them to then wrap you around their finger going, no, that is definitely not the right way of doing things. If you give me $200, I can instruct you in the right ways. And it won't be your way, it will be their way. So no, just take it easy. Develop your practice and be confident in your own practice. It's not really other people's business. You don't need to be putting it out there all the time. And you definitely don't need other people's opinions on it. And this is my 11 things of what people normally do wrong in these kind of situations when they're starting their practice with demons, when they're newly coming into demonolatry. I hope it has been an entertaining thing to listen to. I was happy to produce this video, even though it took a lot longer than it should have, because, oh hey, yay for every single technological issue. For example, my camera is off center, and I could definitely see this for, good 15 minutes at least. But I never fixed it. So that might be another thing that I should fix in post. Thank you for listening to me. I hope you have a great day, and toodaloo.